Welcome to the Show Me the Way podcast. I am your host, Andrea Miller, and I'm so excited to bring this show to you. Show Me the Way is a podcast dedicated to exploring the journeys of those who have faced adversity and found themselves on unexpected paths. We will have meaningful, thoughtful conversations about challenges we have faced and how we discovered and forged new direction. Prepare to be inspired and to uncover your own strength as you listen to relatable and motivating stories. Life has a way of twisting and turning, and we often need a fresh perspective to understand how to navigate. Let's show each other the way. In today's episode, I'm joined by my quotes online bestie, Brenda Noon Schmidt, for an inspirational and fun conversation you won't want to miss. Brenda and I connected virtually through a past guest, Emily Jacobs, and although we've never met in person, we've built a genuine online friendship. Brenda is a busy wife and mom of 3, but her journey to this season of life is filled with intentional pivots and powerful perspective shifts. She shares how, after growing up caring for her younger siblings, she once believed motherhood wasn't for her. But as she grew and met her husband, she realized she could define family life on her own terms, and that her past didn't have to shape her future. Throughout our conversation, Brenda opens up about shifting career paths, from art and graphic design to finance and investing, and eventually to entrepreneurship. No matter the chapter, she's always embraced the lessons learned along the way and used them to build a life aligned with her values. Brenda's story is a beautiful reminder that we each have the power to design a life we love by following joy, being intentional, and never stopping our personal growth journey. She and her husband continue to dream big, learn together, and share meaningful adventures with their kids. You'll leave this episode inspired and encouraged, and you'll definitely want to take notes on the wisdom Brenda so generously shares. Welcome back to the Show Me the Way podcast. I'm so excited for today's guest. I met Brenda Schmidt through one of our previous guests. You may remember Emily Jacobs. Emily is all about connecting women, bringing women together, because she strongly believes in empowerment and open arm support. And I met Brenda online during a network event, and I could tell right away that she brings so much light and love to all of those she interacts with. Brenda's a busy mom, wife, entrepreneur. She's doing everything. She currently runs a kick-ass modern mom organization / blog / Facebook group / podcast, you name it. I feel like it's everywhere. We've talked so many times on the show how important it is to build a village and encourage one another, and I cannot wait to hear how she's doing all of that. I knew she'd be an excellent guest, and she would give us so much inspiration and motivation. I'm so grateful that she agreed to join us. We had a quick call to prep for this show. I'm certain no matter what direction Brenda decides to take us, we will all learn something. So thank you so much for being on the show, Brenda.
Yay. Thanks so much for having me. This is like seriously self-care for me to have conversations like this with my
Oh,
friends, with my
love
internet
that.
pen pals. Like we were saying,
Yes.
we're like internet
Yes.
pen pals.
Yes, that's what we are. We were meant to connect, that's for sure. So cool. Thank you. So I said a few things about how I know you, Brenda, but why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about you?
Yeah. So my name is Brenda Noon Schmidt, and I live in Tucson, Arizona. My husband and I are both entrepreneurs. We have separate companies, which can be super crazy and wild. And then we have 3 kiddos. My oldest is almost 13. My next one's almost 10. And the youngest is 6.5. We love to adventure. And so everything we do in business and in life is just so we can go do more adventures together as a family. That's our biggest goal. One of our primary values is just freedom and adventure. And so what we do in each of our businesses is teach people in different areas how to delegate, automate, and hack their time. And so my husband teaches agency owners how to own their agency, own their life. And in my business of Kick-Ass Modern Mom, and now also I have Tenfold Your Life for families. And in these areas, I teach people how to apply the same strategies that businesses use, but to their households, which people are like, what? But it's really about how structure provides freedom. And when we can take some of these successful principles that have been working for years and years for lots of well-known businesses, and we apply them to our households, and we support ourselves with teams, we create processes and systems, or we not even create them, but we find people that can create them for us, really. And then it really just frees us up to be in our zone of genius, to be living our best lives with our kids and showing them the world. Because as moms, that's like our biggest goal ever, is just to do right by our kids. And so, yeah, just really truly finding that balance. People say it doesn't exist, the work-life balance, but I feel like I've really kind of started to tap into how to get there. And I love sharing that with other families and just really making them feel like life can be easy and fun. And so, yeah, outsourcing in your house and systems, that's where I nerd out. So I will share all the secrets, anything you want to know. Like I'll tell you everything.
Yay, that's wonderful. As you were talking, it's kind of crazy for me to remember, but lifetime ago, I actually was into process improvement. So when you started saying processes and structure, I was like, oh, that's exciting. But it's so far from where I am now. As we were just saying, I do a lot of things messy, but I used to care a lot about process
But here is the
improvement.
cool thing about systems and processes is like the most simple and messy that they are, the more sustainable they're going to be. So sometimes we can really get in the weeds with trying to make the most perfect system. And then we use all of our energy just making the system that we don't have the energy to follow it or it doesn't last for very long. And so actually, I was just telling you that I was on a call with a house manager, so I do house manager placement and I help families find house managers. And now I'm starting to get house managers coming to me saying, hey, we need resources. Hey, we love the families that you work with. Let me know if you have any families that need our help. And so it's kind of cool now that I have these families coming to me needing house managers. And I have a lot of house managers coming to me saying, I would love to serve your families. And both of them want resources and nobody wants to create them. And what I have learned over creating all these resources over the last few years is that you can have the most beautiful Trello board of household systems. And if it doesn't get used, it's worthless. But if you have the most simple Google Doc of a checklist that just goes in a clear sleeve in a binder on your kitchen counter, and if it gets used every single day, that's the one that works. And so systems don't need to be complicated. Actually, the more simple they are, the better. And so I think when we come from corporate environments, I used to work
Mhm.
corporate finance. I used to work New York Stock Exchange, trading and mutual funds and stuff like this. And so everything has to be very meticulous, very detailed. And so then I would carry that into my regular life where it's like, oh, there's huge consequences if it's not perfect, but there's not. There's not huge consequences in all these other areas of our life. Like we can let go a little bit and really get a little bit more messy, and messy's still okay. So yeah,
Yes.
you probably like whatever your previous way of doing it, it was like higher consequences if it wasn't perfect. And now we can be like, yeah, whatever. It's good enough. Good enough is good enough
Good
is what I tell
enough,
my kids.
yes. I tell my son that too because I think and if he can hear me from the other room, he would get mad at me for saying this, but he's slightly OCD. So, yeah, I'm like, "It's good enough, it's good enough." So, yeah,
Yeah.
that has become my phrase, but I really like how you put that because I always tell people, I'm like, "I used to be more like this, and maybe
Mhm.
I'm do I not know who I was? And was I not really like that? Because I'm nothing like that now, but obviously we evolve for different reasons. So I like the way you just put all of that. So yeah, the Show Me the Way podcast, I started it because my son, who I was just talking about, has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And that was 10 years ago that we got his diagnosis. And when we received that diagnosis, at that time, my husband and I hadn't faced that much adversity. And this was very new to us. Like, wait, this path we had created is changing. This picture that we had in our minds of our two sons, and now we're going to have to deal with something different. It was very eye opening for us. And I just wanted to create a platform where I could tell that story and allow others to share similar stories. So we've been doing this for quite some time now, and I've had guests that have shared other diagnoses that they've dealt with, either themselves or their kids, or I've had people talk about moving to another country because their husband's job brought them there, or grief. There's been all kinds of different stories, but I just thought of Brenda because, first of all, I'm sure she could tell us all kinds of different stories of different experiences that she's faced. But just being a mom, an entrepreneur, I mean, you have stories of times that you thought your picture looked like this and it changed. So it can either be something specific that our guests share, or they just kind of talk about like, well, I used to do this, now I do this. Here's what I've learned. Here's perspective. And I just thought we would all learn. All of us listeners would
Yeah.
learn from Brenda today. So we are talking about how I don't have a script. I say that very often on this show, that it's just more of a coffee talk, friendly kind of conversation. So we're just going to see where it's going to go. But I will shut up and let Brenda just give us wisdom. And I can't wait to hear more about how she got into this business of really helping people just run their lives and find their freedom and do all of this so that she can continue to have adventures with their kids.
Yeah, and that's interesting you're saying, like how it's like you have a certain plan and then what shakes it up and that gives you a lot of purpose in your path. And for me, I actually did not want to be a mom. I For as much as I absolutely love it now, like I just absolutely love being a mom. But I was number 2 of 6 kids growing up. I grew up on an Arizona cattle ranch on the border of Mexico and Arizona. And my siblings and I were really spread out, same parents, but like big gaps between everybody.
Mhm.
So my youngest sibling is 15 years younger than me. And so when I was growing up, it was my older sister and I taking care of all the younger kids. And my older sister was 1 year older than me. And sometimes she was just like, I can't do this. And so she just couldn't handle it. I would kind of like step into the oldest sibling role and kind of manage all the kids and like calm everybody down. And my dad would be out working on the ranch for long hours. And then my mom just had a lot of mental challenges and she would just like disappear. And so we would just be taking care of the littles. And so I felt like I was a mom my entire childhood and I never got to have my childhood. And so when I first met my husband, when we first started dating, we were 20 years old and I told him I never want to get married and I never want to have kids. So if that's on your
Never
path,
say
you better keep
never.
looking. And then eventually I was like, okay, I like you. We can just be life partners like Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. Like, I don't ever want to get married. I just felt like, you know what? I felt so trapped in my own childhood that I wanted freedom in my adulthood. And to me, I felt like taking care of kids was going to take away my freedom. And the cool thing is now what I know and what I show other families out there is that you make your own freedom and you get to show your kids freedom and your kids allow you a lot of freedom that you didn't have. And so it's the coolest thing that you get to reparent yourself by parenting your kids. And so whatever things that trigger you, you can figure out, why does this trigger me? What is it from my childhood that used to set me off? Like, okay, like when my kids start bickering, it drives me crazy because it takes me back to being a little kid where my parents were bickering and I couldn't do anything about it. And so now I'm like, oh, wait, now I'm the adult and they're the kids. I can do something about this bickering. I can model better behavior. I can tell them how to resolve their conflicts. And so it's the coolest thing now where like a week ago, the kids were like, like the couch, like they claim a couch cushion. And if one person's feet are poking into the other person's cushion, that turns into battle royale because no, you're on my cushion. So this was happening. And my son, who was not on the couch, he was telling he's like, Lily, this is not that big of a deal. You can resolve this. You can resolve this. You can choose to resolve this right now, Lily. You don't need to make such a big deal of this. And so I was in the other room putting on my makeup, just listening to this, like them telling each other how to resolve conflict and like talk each other down. And I was so proud because I
Right.
was like,
Proud mama moment.
this, like they are still fighting. They're still kicking each other because of a dumb cushion, but they're also learning that yeah, when they're kids, it's a couch cushion, but when you're a grown up, it might be a bigger issue that you have a disagreement over. And learning, does this even matter? We can resolve this. And so it just made me so happy to hear that. But that's something that was a big shift for me, was that I originally thought that I didn't want to have kids. I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to be tied down, as they say, right? But then as I got older and I just realized like, oh, you know what? That version of it isn't what it is for everybody. Like that was my parents' version. And our childhood doesn't have to be what my kids' childhood is. And so I get to rewrite what that looks like. And so that's one of the cool things is when you go through those pivots where you're like, okay, I changed my mind now. And I tell people all the time, like, it's okay to change your mind and then change it back and then change it back again. You're allowed to change your mind as many times as you want. You can be adamantly like, this is my opinion. And then 6 months from now, be like, just kidding. I changed my mind. I completely believe the opposite thing now. And that's okay. We're human. We get to change our mind. And
Yep.
so we don't have to get locked into whatever ideas we have. We just say like, yeah, I used to believe that and I don't believe that anymore. Just
Right.
let
Right.
it go.
You learn something new. You have
Yeah.
a different perspective. Somebody showed you something. Yeah, it's totally okay. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And I guess like another big shift was I went to art school. I wanted to do package design, graphic design. And while I was going to art school, my then boyfriend, now husband, his best friend worked for this mutual fund company. And he moved in with us and I would hear him talk about his job. And I'm like, that sounds really fascinating. I'm studying this art stuff, but I kind of want to go do that. And so I remember growing up, my Nana, I was very close with my Nana. My mom was like never reliable. So I would just hang out with my grandmother all the time. She lived on the hilltop with us on the ranch. So I would hang out with my Nanas all the time. And she taught me about stocks and bonds and investments and all these kind of things. So I would talk to him and be like, yeah, I remember learning about this as a kid. And it was super interesting back then. And he was like, well, they're hiring and they put you through investment school if you get if you get the job, they put you through 3 months of investment school and then to get you your series licenses, all your licenses to be able to speak about investments. And I was like, cool, let's do it. I was still going to school for graphic design and I started working this job at this investment firm and I learned all about investments. And so it was like right brain, left brain. So it's cool now because now in my grown-up life, I get to use a lot of my finance knowledge and financial planning and investments and property management and all that kind of stuff that I learned from that. But then it's like, if you own a business that's a digital marketing related thing, you become your own cable media company of all the content you produce. And so I've had to like go back to some of this stuff I learned from graphic design and design school, which was funny because it wasn't digital back then. It was like, remember in the TV show Mad Men, how Don Draper would have those mock-ups that were on a piece
Yes.
of board? Yeah,
Oh my
that's what
gosh.
I learned in design
That's what you
school.
did.
And it
Oh,
was like
wow.
very worthless for the modern day. But I mean, it still shows you, perspective and scale and stuff like that. But yeah, so again, I thought I was going to go into art and design, and then I ended up going into this completely other area of finance, and I loved it. I worked that until I started having kids, and I still worked it for a little while with my firstborn. I worked New York Stock Exchange hours from Arizona. So I'd wake up at 4, drop her off at daycare in order to be at my job for opening bell in New York. And then I would be off work by like 2 p.m. And then meanwhile, my husband was entrepreneur. So he was off doing networking in the evenings and his whole schedule of being a business owner and trying to get going in our local community. So we would just never even see each other. Like I was in bed before he got home. I was gone before he woke up. I would take my daughter with me. He never saw her. We realized, yeah, we don't want to live like this. So,
Wow. Well, backing up a little bit though, what made you decide to have kids I mean, did he just really want kids and then you
no,
got
he
on
was very
board or what
patient.
happened?
He's funny. I don't even know, like, if you asked him now, I think he says like, yeah, I knew you'd come around. So it's like, because I had all this experience raising my younger siblings and basically being their mom, I was very good with kids and I could read them really well and I could understand them really well. And the difference is when you're raising your siblings, you don't really get to have full control of the situation. Like you're told how you're supposed to do it by your parents. But then I realized every time I'd be around other people's kids that I just loved kids. And everyone was like, "You're so good with kids. We can't believe you don't want to have your own kids." I'm like, nah, I just want to be like the fun aunt. I'm just going to drop in and play and then leave. And everyone was like, yeah, but you're just so good with kids. And so I was just like, like, don't tell me what to do. But I remember being on a vacation with my boss actually. And I was just hanging out with his son, who was, I think, 2 or 3 at the time, for an entire weekend and just taking him to the beach and doing all these things. And and my then boyfriend was with me, my husband. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? I do want to have kids. What we're getting to do with this guy, we get to hang out with this little guy all weekend. How fun would that be to get to do this on a regular basis with our own that look like us too, right?
Yeah. So you decide to have kids and then
Yeah.
you get into this financial world and you're doing this crazy schedule and
Yeah.
your husband and you don't see each other. So what happens next?
I was kind of creating a plan for myself. Like, you know what? Here's my exit plan. I don't want to live like this long term. So, after this bonus comes through, and like the company I work for had amazing benefits, and it's an investment company. So, of course, they have a lot of great opportunities for you to invest and they match it and stuff like that. And so really what I started doing was like, okay, I'm going to figure out my exit plan. And so we were like, well, if we're going to go to one income just with your entrepreneur income, I started taking everything I was making and I just started stockpiling it into all these investments. And we like switched to going into one income, and that everything else was just going into I was like maxing out my 401k, maxing out all my investments. All of our benefits were through my work. And so we started switching over to like any type of little thing that you want to get checked out. Okay, let's hurry up and go do it before I quit.
Yes. That's funny because we did something similar too. Now that you're talking, I'm like, I can relate. We built a bigger house when I still had that other corporate income. It's like, let's do it now.
Yeah.
Let's
Any
do it now
loans you need
because
to get, right? Like,
yeah,
anything you
let's
need to
take
get
care of it
approved
all right
for.
now.
Yeah. You're like, okay, the vehicle loans, property loans, okay, we got 2 incomes to get approved for before we switch. And the bank's like, what? I've always been a person that for as like fluid and free as I live, I also am a planner. I make sure there's ducks in a row. And because then that gives you that freedom feeling. You're not stressed out. And so, yeah, so we transitioned to one income for, I don't know, like 6 months or so. Then that was all money that we then had put aside, which was amazing because then during the pandemic, I was able to pull that out and invest in real estate with it because there was like the whole, you're able to take it out and defer the taxes over 3 years. And anyway, so
That
that
was
was,
smart. Jeez. Yeah. Good
that was,
thinking. You are the planner.
so we just transitioned to being a one income family and have, the best decision ever. Cause then I I would joke that I was the stay-at-home mom who was never home. I was just always out gallivanting around town, showing I had one kid at the time and then eventually had the other two kids. And so by the time, I don't know at what point that I really started stepping into my husband's company more and really helping him behind the scenes of his company. I think it was just almost out of necessity that he was like, there's no one doing this and I need someone to do it. And you're pretty organized. Do it. So I was just kind of like that catch-all position for his company behind the scenes, personal assistant slash travel agent slash HR person slash, you know, analytics person for all the Facebook ads and stuff like that. And so it's been fun just learning the behind the scenes of the business. And the cool thing was that like he was the risk taker out front, taking the risks, and I would just keep analyzing things and optimizing things and be like, okay, no, like cut this, add that, really being strategy person behind the scenes. So I just fired myself from his business in the fall because
Okay.
now with
You
my own
fired
business,
yourself.
yeah, I was like, yeah, because there would be a team member that would take over some of my responsibilities, but then there would be other things that nobody was handling that was like back to Brenda. So there was constantly times like every time he puts on an event, I felt like I have to pause my entire business to be able to support him with his. And I'm like, no, I got clients to serve. I got my schedule now. And so
Yes.
I can't keep getting pulled over. This is like the ex-girlfriend that just keeps calling me. So
So you needed to draw a line in the
yeah. So I
sand.
was like,
Yeah.
okay, you have a very capable team. I think you should empower them to use their leadership even more. And I am stepping away and letting your team do their job. They are amazing. Trust them. So, and that's been, I think, one of the biggest challenges recently because I've been the kind of like HR team management kind of a person. I'm a good communicator. I can intuitively kind of tell what people's strengths are and what their needs are. This is why I love outsourcing in the household because it's like learning that about people that you bring into your home. And so that's been something that's been a little tricky is, turnover with team members or team members not performing optimally just because nobody's noticing that kind of stuff and nobody's really calling it out or meeting with them and communicating the expectations. And so I it's like, okay, well, I cannot be all these places. Like
All of the
it's
yeah,
got to sort
and
itself
yes,
out. Yeah.
we like to wear a lot of hats, but yeah, you do have
Yeah.
to try to
And
figure
then
out.
it just gives the opportunity. There's a couple people who have been in. He has his original business that he started back when we were first dating. It was a web design company. He was selling websites to people before there was even Google or Facebook. And the biggest objection he used to get back then was, "I'm already in the phone book. Why do I need a website?" Isn't that
Oh
crazy
my
now? Like
gosh,
the
it's
time.
crazy.
So this is like 25 years ago, which is a long time ago, but it's not.
It's not right when you think about
Yeah,
it.
it's crazy. And then built a team of I don't know like 10 or 12 people and half of his team formed a competing company under his own roof and were selling services like they were underbidding and doing their own services under his roof and he's paying his employees to like basically steal his own clients.
Oh my
He didn't know about
goodness.
this and then when he found out about it, he fired half of his company. This was before we were about to go on our very first vacation that he was ever going to take where he would like leave. Right? So then it's like below to the ego of like, that's it. See, I can't leave my company. And so, yeah, we were about to go to the Caribbean or Key West or something. And we had to cancel our trip because all of a sudden he fired half his company. Yeah. But then, so he immediately was like, okay, I got to pivot. I got clients to serve. I got to build websites. So he hired offshore help. And this was before people were using offshore VAs. This VAs was not even a term yet. And
Mhm.
so he had this whole team of people, Nepal or Philippines or somewhere. And I remember the local business owners were like, how could you? There's people right here in the United States that need work and you're hiring these people over here and paying them so little. But we now know that it blesses their lives. It blesses our lives. We're a global economy now. You can employ people from all over the place. It's so cool. But back then that was like icky and taboo. And that's not something people did. And so that was like pioneer days back then. And so he's been able to it was such a blessing because he's been able to scale and grow that business and then another business and then another business by figuring out all these things and taking risks in these areas And that's what I tell people now, like house managers. I talk about house managers, and people are like, I don't know if I deserve that. I like, what is that like? I don't know. How can I afford it? And I'm like, listen, in 5 years from now, everyone's going to have them. 20 years ago, nobody knew what VAs were, and now everybody has VAs. It's so easy to get a VA, train them on board. They're so knowledgeable, they're amazing. We're rewriting the school systems in these other countries because of it. That's what house managers is going to be, but it's going to be a lot faster because of the information age. So it's not going to take 20 years for everyone to have house managers. It's going to be a lot faster. So I tell people, yeah, it's icky and taboo to some people right now, just like VAs was, but then eventually it's going to be the norm. All of our kids are going to have them. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and you and your husband are not afraid to pioneer and to try all these things early so that you'll
Yeah.
be ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and we'll like we just reach back and tell everybody else, "It's cool, guys. It's fine. The
Yeah,
water's nice."
don't worry. Wow. I love all of the experience that you and your husband have both had and how you don't separate the two. Listening to you share about what you've been through, what your husband's been through, they so helped you be who you are today. I mean, you were a business manager and a house manager for your own home and your husband's job. And so you have all that experience. It's not like you just thought, I'm just going to start this house management connection. Like you know, truly know the ins and outs of the whole thing. So you come at everything you do with so much knowledge, or even how you said, well, I can pull from my old graphic design experience and I can pull from parenting my own siblings. Like there's so many things that you've just held on to that have helped create who you are today instead of saying, I don't want to go back to that. No, I want to take each step forward with me. I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. One of my favorite books is, Dr. Benjamin Hardy's The Gap and the Gain. It sounds like a finance book. Maybe that's why I was drawn to it. But it's not. It's a personal development book, but it talks about exactly that. It's like, if we rewrite our past, we rewrite our future. And so when we start to see the things in our past as gains, it removes all the gaps that we currently have.
I don't think I look at them as gains. I think that's quite a nugget. I think sometimes we think about the past and we're like, oh, wonder why I did that. Or maybe that wasn't the right choice. But I really do like flipping the script and thinking, no, even if it wasn't the greatest situation for you. I mean, there's a reason you left it, but
Mhm.
what did you learn along the way? I mean, it wasn't all a complete waste. Even previous relationships, it's,
Yeah.
oh, I never should have married that person or I never should
Mhm.
have dated that person. It's like, well, then maybe you wouldn't have the children you have today, or maybe you wouldn't have the experiences to move on and do what you're doing now. But I think if you do flip the script instead of having regret for things you've done in the past or things that you experienced, take it with you and understand how it can help you move forward. So I love that approach. I think that's a good lesson for us all,
Yeah.
for sure.
And it's like they say, you either win or you grow. So you never lose. You just grow.
True. I like
Um,
that too.
that same author, I just love all his books. Anything he writes, you guys go read it. But he wrote Gap in the Gain. He wrote Who Not How, which is one of my Bibles for business and home. It's like anytime you're like, how can I do this? Instead, change the word to who. Who can help me accomplish this? Who do I hire? Who do I get as a mentor? Who do I ask? You who's. Go find who's instead of figuring out how to do something. And then he has one that's be your future self now. Like, make decisions from your future self, because then you become that person sooner.
Oh, I love that. I'm writing all of these notes over here.
Can you
um,
tell I read a lot of books? I'm like,
yeah, I think, well,
it's
that's
all I do in
great.
the
I
car.
mean,
I just listen to books all the time.
yeah, I mean, it's good to be open to that. I was working for a direct sales company a few years ago, and I never really got into personal development until that time. And you keep talking about who and the village, and it goes back to full circle to what I said at the very beginning, how important it is to have people that you can reach out to, go after those that want to empower you and want to
Mhm.
support you and want to help you. I think that's so important. And so when some of these amazing women that I met through this community started talking about personal development and reading and listening and podcasting, I was
Mhm.
like, it's kind of life changing when you start to
Yeah.
be open to things like that.
Yeah. I was just traveling, and it's like the best type of travel because you're just surrounding yourself by all these people doing personal development, and then you're out adventuring around, and then it's like your brain is just in this other state. And I was telling one of my friends, I'm like, "Man, I just live in the best bubble." like like there's all these things happening. There's people who just don't live like this. They live in victim mentality, but I don't even interact with them. Like I'm not even aware of them because all the people I hang out with on a regular basis, they love learning things and they love
Mhm.
thinking about what's possible for them and having a growth mindset. And so I'm like, man, I just love my bubble. It's great.
I love that too. Yeah. I can't believe I'm saying this on my podcast, but my sisters, they always tease me because my name's Andrea, but they call me Annie. Some people don't get that, but I get it. Anne, Annie, whatever. That's what they call me. Siblings, family, people, we all have nicknames for each
Yep.
other, right? So they call me Annie and they'll say, oh, she's in Annie's world. Because sometimes I don't want to turn on the news. Sometimes I don't want to talk
Yeah.
about all the terrible things that are happening. And I just want to life is so short,
Yeah.
so short. I just want to find joy when I can.
Oh,
Now,
for
it
sure.
doesn't mean I'm constantly in la la land. Like I'm realistic,
I
but
am. I claim it. I'm
but,
in La La Land. I like it there.
but I think I'm going to start saying the bubble. I like that
Yeah.
too.
Well,
So
because
like,
it's all
oh,
inputs, right? Like, so I'm like biohacker, health nerd. And so what I put in my body is what is gonna affect the way I feel, but also all the other inputs that I put in. So like news, what I listen to, even the music. I was in an Uber driving home from the airport and the guy was playing the least empowering music ever. I don't even know what this music was. I was that old lady under a rock that was like, who made this music? Like, I get that this is artistic expression, but this is real negative. And so I put in my earbuds and started listening to Jay Shetty. I was like, all right, Jay Shetty, take me away from this moment.
inspire me. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get some like good back in here, you know? And so it's like overriding the inputs. I just feel like whatever we're putting in our bodies, whether it's in our minds, in our soul, in our heart, in our bellies, it all creates who we are and how we exist and what our energy is. And so every time there's like they say you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with most. And I remember there was a certain family member that I was hanging out with a lot when my kids were little that I just felt like, well, I can't have them be part of my average. I don't want to become more of that. So I would just start listening to all these podcasts because if I could virtually override the inputs, where then now these are my 5 average instead. And so I would listen to Entrepreneur on Fire, John Lee Dumas, and Tim Ferriss. And so I'm like, all right, Tim Ferriss is going to cancel out this family member that I don't want their negativity. So, yeah, it's just being intentional. Sometimes you can't get away from certain things, but you can add more of the other good stuff that you do like.
I love that. And something else that I wrote down and I wanted to get back to was how you said, like, you create how you're going to parent, you create how you're going to do things. And that reminds me so much of I bring it up almost every single podcast, the let them theory, because speaking of my 5, I love Mel Robbins. I
I
wish she lived
know.
next door and we hung out.
I
So
know. I was just listening to that book on my vacation.
it's
Yeah.
so good. I have 2 copies. One is the one that I'm folding and drawing in, and the other one I'm passing around to friends. But yeah, just that simple notion that you can control your own actions. That's the only thing you can control. It's
Yeah.
yourself, how you react to something and your reactions and I just think that's so key because we can fall into the trap of, oh, I don't know any better, or this is how I am used to doing things. No, you can change that. You can
Mhm.
change the input. You can change how you feel about something. You can change who you are around all of the time. So
Yeah.
I love that you said
And it
that. Like
ripples
you're
out,
in
like,
control.
we can't change our family members, and so my dad, he's rancher, he's still on a ranch, like, he will never listen to this podcast, like, that's not ever gonna be a thing
No.
that he does. He can barely
That's
operate
okay.
his phone, I gotta go to his house and help him set up his air conditioner, like, I'm his house manager, and so I'm not ever going to change my dad. However, when I was talking to him on the phone over the weekend, I was driving from Canada back to the United States, and I'm in the car for a good while. So I'm just talking to my dad forever. And the stuff that's coming out of his mouth, I've been hanging out with him on a weekly basis now. Now, all of a sudden, he starts saying things that I say. Like, I'm not going to change the man. However,
No,
I
but you can
am
have an
rubbing off on
impression.
him. Yes.
Yes,
And it's
yes.
just like planting seeds, right? I have no intention of changing my dad's mind because he is who he's gonna be. But then the things he's saying, he's like, "Oh yeah, I've been eating this because you got to be careful about blah blah." And I'm like, "All right, I guess all the 500 times that I've said it, it started really going in little by little." And so now he got rid of his Oreos, and like,
I
like,
love that. Well, that goes back to what you said about your kids too, fighting over the couch cushion. Yeah, they're still doing
mhm,
that and maybe you can't completely stop them, but they're inserting these little nuggets that you've given them. So,
yeah.
that's really
And
cool.
like I have a post-it note that's in my bathroom that it says be and they will become. And so it's like anything that I want to affect change. Even my husband for the longest time. I want him to stop complaining about how out of shape he is and just go do something about it. But I can't tell him to go work out. I can't get him a gym membership. I can't sign him up for personal training classes. I mean, I could, but he's not going to. He's going to fight me. But what I can do, I could just keep going to my fitness classes every, like 4 days a week. And I can keep waking up early before the rest of the house and like making it a priority for me. And then eventually he's like, "Hey, one of these days, can you stay home and I go?" I'm like, "Yeah, totally. How about you wake up early and go to the gym? That's great. Yeah, totally. Do it." It's like
Yes.
be and they will
Oh,
become. It's like, just I'm just gonna keep being me. And sometimes they never become, right? It's like 5 years it takes before they do the thing that you've been doing for 5 years. And other times it's like a week. You do it for a week and they catch on. But then there's other things. My husband was going for a walk at the end of his workday as a transition. He would go out and he would just go for a walk around the neighborhood. We live right next to a state park, so there's trails, and so he would go in there. And so that was his way of stopping working. Otherwise, he would just keep going and going and going because I go and I pick up the kids. And so I do the whole like, okay, I have to stop working because I have to go pick up kids. We're both working from home, but he's able to just keep going. And so there's no hard stop for him. So he had to add that into his schedule so that there would be a hard stop. And I thought, that's a great idea. You get some steps in, you get outside, you go, I want to hike more. So then how can I add that? So actually I was just making a training module in my membership where I was inspired by my husband. I felt like, okay, well, I have to go pick up the kids, but which of my meetings can I go on a hike while I'm doing that meeting? If I'm in a coaching program, okay, what parts of the day can I fit it in? Because that actually has inspired me seeing him go out, and I see him out my window going for his hike with his big sun
yep.
hat and his camelback backpack on, and he would go see tortoises. The state park that we're nearby has wild desert tortoises, like the giant ones, and you never see them in the wild, never. When I was a kid, maybe we saw them one time, and he would see them almost every single day, and he would be texting me pictures of these tortoises, and I was like, "That's it. I need to go for a hike."
Well, yeah, and that I love that. That's an epitome of what you were saying, be and they will become. So he actually did that for
Yeah,
you.
he did.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
that's
yeah,
cool.
so now he's doing his workouts inspired by me, and now I'm hiking inspired by him, and,
Yeah,
you
that's
just
awesome.
get inspired by each other.
Yes. Well, I again, I we're besties. We could talk all day
I
long.
know.
We're virtual besties. But I do want to allow you the opportunity to plug the organizations you're running and working on, the Kick-Ass Modern Mom, and then you had mentioned another one.
So I have a free Facebook community for moms, just to get support, and for a lot of, like you're saying, like people who are kind of new to personal development. I love just kind of sharing some of the stuff that I'm learning and reaching back because there's some women that are in that community that are like my 10-year ago self that were brand new to a lot of this information also. And so I just love kind of sharing in there and also asking for recommendations about womanly stuff and parenting stuff, like having it be a safe place to just talk about those kind of things. Actually, one of my friends locally, she's having a baby and her two other kids are a bit older. It's taken her a while to have another kid. And so she doesn't have any baby gear anymore. So I told her, go post in that group because everybody who's local might have baby gear sitting in their garage that they want to get rid of. And so stuff like that. And so the Facebook group is called Kick-Ass Modern Moms Community. Everybody's welcome over there. It's a cool community. And there's people from all over the world in there. So if you like to travel, you can find other moms with kids the same ages to go visit in other countries. That's pretty cool. And then Tenfold Your Life is my community over on School. So it's school.com/tenfold. And that is my membership community that gives people resources around hiring house managers, building teams in their business and in their homes, hacking their time. I have a whole section on all these different ways to fit in little things in pockets of time as moms. I was telling a marketer recently, if you're going to market to moms, you have to market in 7 to 12 minute increments because that's all we got. We don't have an hour to sit on a webinar. Give us the nuggets, give us the cliff notes that we can look at on our phone from our car because our car is our other office. So everything has to be in little short bursts and there has to be lots of breadcrumbs so that we can come back and find it again.
Yes,
um,
yes. I had someone on my podcast that I interviewed just the other day, and I just dropped it this Sunday, and she was talking so much about share your resources, share what you know. If it's been good for me, why wouldn't I share it with you? And if you come across somebody that doesn't, they're not your people. That's not your person.
yep.
Find the people that are willing to say, I've been through this. I don't want you to have to suffer through it. I want you to learn from my experience. So I appreciate that you're sharing all of this in different ways.
Yeah. And then on the social media, I'm Kick-Ass Modern Mom everywhere. So I like posting lots of reels to teach people how to find house managers and how to interview them and all that kind of stuff. So if you're curious about a house manager, just go binge all the reels and you'll get everything you need to know.
And it really is, it's not just Arizona, right? You're
The whole
connecting
world,
people
yeah,
throughout.
yeah,
Mhm.
throughout the whole world. I only do the placements in the United States, but I have helped families all over the world to find house managers in their areas.
Okay. And we had another guest who I keep talking about her. She said, "Leave a nugget everywhere you go." And Brenda, you left us quite a few nuggets. You should see my notes. It's a hot mess. So somehow I will summarize all these nuggets so that our listeners can find the breadcrumbs and
Yep.
to connect with you. But if there's anything that you think you haven't shared that you wanted to, if there's any other nugget, I will let you share that. If you've got anything else we think we missed.
Yeah, I think it's like any idea that you have, just try it. And because you're not gonna know till you know. And, if there's something out there that you think is gonna be fulfilling for you and fill your cup, like, go do it and then change your mind.
I love that. It sounds like you and your husband are sharing that same thought process with your kids too. So keep it going. Keep teaching them how to go after what they're looking for in this short world too. I know that just like you said, even when your daughter was a baby, you just brought her along with everything you did. So I'm sure they're seeing that this is a great way to live. This bubble is a pretty great place to be.
Yeah, yeah. Come inside the bubble, I love it. Come join me in my bubble.
Well, awesome. You shared so much with us. I appreciate it. There's so many things I knew we would learn from you. And like I said, I'm going to try to summarize all of these notes and make sure I list the books that you mentioned as well as your sites and how to connect with you. So if anyone is interested in a lot of the things that you shared, they can learn more. And yeah, I think if you're looking for some joy too, just follow Brenda for you just listen to her for 45 minutes and I know your day is brighter because of that. Mine
My
definitely
other
is.
my other favorite thing that I tell people whenever I'm on these is I love stupid dad jokes. So, if you follow me on social media, that's what my stories will have, along with my adventures with my kids, it's a bunch of stupid dad jokes. So, if you come across stupid dad jokes and you're like, "This is hilarious, but I don't know who to send it to me because I
Brenda's
love
the
them."
person. Oh my gosh, my son has a weekly infusion at home with a nurse, and it's a male nurse, and he's amazing. It's like having another. He's not as old as his grandpas, but he could probably be my my son's other grandpa, and he loves dad jokes. So next time I hear one from
I
him,
know.
I'm
You gotta
sending
send
it
it to
your
me.
way.
Oh my gosh. I love them.
That is
The
amazing.
kick-ass
I
modern
love
mom
that.
loves stupid dad jokes. That's
It's like one of those things where people say, "Tell us something we don't know about you."
Yep.
It's a good little
Like the
thing.
borderline inappropriate ones, send them to me. I love them.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for being a guest. Like I say on this podcast, sometimes people have a very specific story. It's on their heart. They come to me and they say, I really want to talk about it. And that's wonderful. I love having guests that have that very specific moment. But then there's other guests that just have so many different things that they can share and experiences that have led them to where they are today. And I think we can learn from both situations. So I
Yeah.
knew you would be a great guest. Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks so much for having me. My day is just so much brighter now just getting to hang out with you. This is amazing.
Yes, yes, me too. And let's keep connecting and keep bringing people to one another and keep shining in each other's lives for sure. My what did you call us? Your online pen pal,
Mhm.
bestie. That is us. Well, thank you so much. I'll let you get on with your day. Keep shining that light and sharing with everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining me for the Show Me the Way podcast. I truly appreciate you tuning in to today's episode about overcoming adversity and finding your path. I hope it brought you new insights, empowered you with perspective, and inspired you to find joy in your journey. If this episode touched your heart, don't forget to leave a quick review as it will help us reach and motivate more people. Until next time, keep seeking the light and showing the way.